Planning Commission at 6 o'clock. Could I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Barr.
Here.
Commissioner Tinker.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Vice Chairman St. Martin is absent, and Chairman Voss is absent.
Thank you. If I get you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda at this time?
No.
Do we have any conflicts of interest to disclose? All right. Public comment period. Any one person may address the Planning Commission on any matter not on this agenda. If you wish to speak, please fill out a public comment form provided at the back table and give it to the city clerk. There is a 3-minute time limit on public comments. There will be no sharing or passing of time to another person. State law prohibits the Commission from discussing or taking actions brought up by your comments. Do we have any requests to speak at this time?
Not on this item.
Okay. So moving on, action item, public hearing. Item number 1, variance V 2018-0031 for parking requirements within the San Gorgonio specific plan.
Thank you. Tonight for your consideration, you have variance V 2018-0031 for parking requirements within the San Gorgonio specific plan. Staff has received a request for a variance application for relief from parking standards at the approved commercial center known as the San Gorgonio Village specific plan. The center is bound on the north by 2nd Street and on the south by 1st Street, with parcels on each side of Commerce Way and the westernmost parcel adjacent to Kohl's. The San Gorgonio Village is a retail and commercial center with a variety of proposed uses, including a movie theater, fitness center, restaurants, and retail shops. Currently, Kohl's is the only occupant of the center. The San Gorgonio Village specific plan has a number of site constraints. When the specific plan was originally approved in 2008, it referenced a shallow depth of the parcels. With 2 major street frontages, this limits the depth of the parcels to about 500 feet. Along with the shallow depths, the layout of the proposed shopping center is unique in that it is split by a public street. Unlike the surrounding shopping centers, this center is not on one contiguous parcel. This layout impedes the ability of the shopping center to aggregate buildings and provide parking that functions in a more communal fashion. Lastly, there is a high-pressure gas line running along the south end of the properties. The gas line runs the entire length of the eastern parcel, crosses Commerce Way, and continues onto the western parcel, further constricting the usable space. Title 17.05 Off-Street Parking and Loading Standards requires 1 parking space per 200 square feet of gross floor area for retail uses, 1 space per 100 square feet of restaurant area, and 1 parking space per every 3 seats for cinema use. The applicant is requesting a variance from the off-street parking requirements for the cinema and the retail space. In an effort to determine if the proposed request for variance from the parking standards is reasonable, staff has prepared a comparison chart showing what the city requires, what the applicant is proposing, and standards other jurisdictions allow for the same type of development. As you can see in the charts, we have in the columns city standards, what the adjusted ratios would be for what the applicant's asking, and then what the parking would actually be provided for each parcel. The second one shows our standard requirement and then all of the other cities that we surveyed and what their requirements are. There is 167,239 square feet of retail space proposed at this location, including the existing Kohl's. At the current parking standard of 1 space per 200 square foot of floor area, 836 parking stalls would be required for the retail component. The proposed theater will have 975 seats, with 1 stall per every 3 seats would then require a total of 325 parking stalls. The applicant is proposing 244 stalls for the theater and an additional 314 spaces for the retail. This equates to theater parking at 1 space for every 4 seats and retail parking space at 1 space per 223 square feet. Kohl's has an existing 484 spaces, which contributes to the overall center total. Based on the city's existing standards, the chart shows the total required parking spaces for the entire center would be 1,350 spaces. As proposed, there would be a total of 1,231 spaces provided, which equates to a reduction of 119 spaces. Based on the center's geographic limitations and the standards shown in the chart, the proposed parking could be considered reasonable. In addition to site constraints, staff has given consideration to the variety of uses proposed at the center and the peak utilization times for similar existing uses near this location. Prior traffic studies have shown typical peak utilization occurs Monday through Friday around noon for shopping and dining at the nearby centers. This is largely attributed to the number of active senior residences in the area and their shopping patterns and preferences. Although it is anticipated the center will be busy, the movie theater and fitness center, which are likely to draw the largest crowds and typically have peak utilization times during evening hours. The different types of businesses and the staggered peak use times help to alleviate parking congestion. The variance procedure is provided pursuant to section 65906 of the California Government Code to grant relief from zoning provisions because of special circumstances applicable to a property. If approved, the variance form of approval is subject to the decision of the Planning Commission, in which it may approve, conditionally approve, or deny the application. If approved, the variance shall have 1 year time frame in which the granting of such a variance must establish a right to use the approval, otherwise the variance shall lapse and become void. In order to grant a variance, the Planning Commission must make all of the following findings listed in the staff report. Staff's recommendation is hold the public hearing and approve variance V 2018-0031, subject to the findings herein, and with the condition that the proposed square footage for the restaurants is the maximum allowable. Any restaurant use in excess of the approved amount is subject to conditional use permit approval. Staff is available if you have any questions, and the applicant is also present in the audience.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any questions for staff at this time?
No, I know observing the parking at Kohl's, there's always excess parking at Kohl's. Even on a good day when everybody's shopping, there always seems to be an extra 50 or 100 parking spots that's available out there. So, I mean, I don't see an issue, to tell you the truth.
So I just wanted to highlight a couple of things for me. The parking variance reduction is 119 spaces. The table that you provided shows that the city right now is requiring 1 space per 1 space for every 3 seats in the theater. Most of the cities surrounding us are 4 or 5. Even just going to 4, that makes up 97 seats of the difference right there, which gets us pretty close to conformance with what's typically accepted in other cities. So I think that seems to be a fair assumption at this point. The other comment that I have, they stated that the applicant has 1 year to establish a right for the parking. Does that mean that the facility would need to be open within a year or just under construction within a year?
As long as they're making progress towards building permits and whatnot, so they'll be in for plan check and such, then it's considered moving forward, so they wouldn't lose their
Okay.
right.
Okay. And on the site plan, it's Kohl's, the cinema, and then 1 small out parcel.
Right.
Okay.
And then the other side would have the bulk of the retail and other restaurants there.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for staff before we open the public hearing? All right, we will then open the public hearing at 6:09. Do you have any comment or request to speak on this item?
Yes, sir. First speaker is Ron Roy. Only speaker, sorry.
Hello, Commission. I hope you're having a good summer. Get a chance to get some vacation and stuff. I know the neighbors in my neighborhood are pretty much excited about that growth in that area. So I thought I would sort of nitpick for a minute, okay? And for one thing, the Kohl's, I'm presuming that will go the way of the Kmart across the street, and that will be split into retail areas, so if you want to keep that in the future. The other thing, and it's kind of my right to complain here, but like when we go to Mountain Grove in Redlands, I really do not like at all the parking setup. The heat, they call it a heat sink or something, but it's like in the summertime, it's super duper hot. All I see is parking, and it doesn't show any kind of architectural originality. Okay, so it's my turn, right? Okay, but the growth is good. Now, let me try and focus on the public transit. I really want to this is my main reason for being here, is that I'd just like to ask the commission to analyze the design guidelines from the National Association of City Transportation Officials. And this includes transit stations and stops, which include stop design factors, stop placement and intersection configuration, platform length, platform height, and accessible paths and slopes. There's a kiosk across where the Walmart is, and that's a real big deal. I mean, I follow transit, public transit, and that's what's considered a hub, a de facto hub. And I know if you could start to work with Paths Transit and even think about RCTC to see if you can get some, maybe some funds, demonstration projects. But I think you need a public transit option. I know when I follow transit, I'm on a committee in transportation now, and there's this idea of understanding your user. And so two key users that I see are going to be people who go to the restaurants and the people who go to the theaters. And so that population doesn't really need a car. You know, like I go to Home Depot all the time, so I'm going to need a truck, right? You know, but for like if I go to the movie with my better half, whatever, you know, we could take public transit, and I'm thinking way ahead of the future. So I think you need to look at that. And just again, it's the nacto.org. Also look at Sandbag, all the regional organizations. If you could put a public transit hub in there, and then they probably could get some credits, some parking credits for that too. I just thinking way ahead, and let's give us a chance to use public transit. So good to see that project going through. So thanks, Lagan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Is the applicant present? There, any questions for the applicant?
No.
Staff would like to make a point of clarification. Actually, the variance will not expire because it's under it's under a development agreement, this project. So
Okay.
even if they took a little longer for whatever reason to pull permits, it would still be good.
Okay.
What? Wait a minute. Good for how long?
The length of the development agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just have a couple questions for the applicant. More curiosity than anything else at this point. If you could please state your name for the record.
Patrick Wood, Wood Investments.
All right. Just a couple questions. We're glad to see that this development, this specific plan is approaching build out. I think the opportunity for increased entertainment, dining, and retail within the city is always great. Do you have any idea about timeframes, what you may be looking at as far as when we may start to see plans run through plan check?
Yeah, you'll start to see plan checks or plans come through in the fall.
Okay.
So we're hoping to start construction sometime early next year.
Okay. That's great. Is there, this is probably more a question for staff, that was kind of my biggest question at this point for you. You have anything else for the applicant? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, we'll close the public hearing at 6:13. Any other questions for staff at this time? Okay. So I will entertain a motion.
Go ahead, big boy. I'm right behind you.
I move that we approve variance V 2018-0031 as recommended by staff for the development of this new center and to accommodate this parking for the movie theater.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Okay, Commissioner Barr,
Yes.
Commissioner Tinker,
Yes.
and Commissioner Smith.
Yes. All right, the motion is approved. Just as a follow-up to the comment of public comment that came up there, you know, if I'm not sure what the full process is, but I think that, you know, having some way to plan for the future in that corridor, I think would be, you know, something good to look at, maybe include with the future long-range transportation plan as ways to enhance that.
I
So.
think,
We'll work with the transit department. This one, obviously, the site plan was already approved.
Yes.
So it's late to add conditions of approval on this one for the site plan.
Correct.
But we do work with transit and route all of our plans through them for them to comment and make accommodations as necessary on their plans.
I think it'd be good. This is going to be a major hub going through for both Banning and Beaumont, so. Have that
I don't care about
good.
Manny.
So with that, I will, do we have any other comments from Community Development Director?
None, thank you.
With that, we will adjourn the meeting at 6:15. Thank you.